You don't typically see people growing raspberries here in the low desert because it just gets far too hot for them. Last year I tried growing some dormant red and they did great during the winter and early spring, but I made the huge mistake of planting them in full sun and they slowly started deteriorating, and instead of moving them, I left them hoping that they would acclimate. Had I done more research, I would have realized that I was slowly killing them, and that dormant red variety was supposed to be a little bit more heat tolerant. So anyways, most of the time the raspberries have a higher chill hour, about 800 if not more. There are some that are supposed to be a bit lower on the chill hour spectrum. Here where I live, I typically like to get things that are low chill hour, but because of the altitude of the location of my house, I can get away with something that's a bit more in the medium range, not too high but not too low either. I've actually been looking at the records of the nearest meteorological station, checking to see how many chill hours we're getting each day, and also looking at the records of the years prior. And last year at around this time, we had about 100 less chill hours than we do now, which is really interesting, but it's still much lower than it was a few years ago. If only I had a garden back then, but it's okay. So anyways, after unaliving my dormant red raspberries, I'd figure I'd give it another shot. This time I'm gonna try the heritage variety. Keep in mind that these do not specify that they are heat tolerant. They just happen to be the ones that I found at Walmart as bare roots for $6.97. And if we round down, we can say maybe $6.50. Just kidding. This one is an ever-bearing variety. Some online sites said it required as low as 250 chill hours, which I don't know about that. Most of them said around 800. So we're gonna see. And the second variety I picked up is the Amity variety, which is this one right here. When I first bought them, they didn't have leaves, but I've had them out here for a few days and they started leafing out. So I think it's time we pot them up. This pot will eventually house my coral vine, but for now it's housing everything else. So I'm gonna grow them in this pot right here next to my mango tree and my loquat because it's gonna get some filtered morning sun. And then as the sun makes its way around this way, it's gonna get shaded by the house over here. But then as the sun makes its way over here, it's gonna get a few hours of afternoon sun, but it won't be in the blazing sun for most of the day. I'm hoping that by doing that, it'll have a really nice microclimate going on. I know raspberries require quite a bit of sunlight to produce, but they also don't like to be in too much heat. And our temps are gonna soar in the summer, so I'm hoping that this location will keep it happy enough. Last year when I tried growing raspberries, I had them right here. So they got sun pretty much all day up until the sun went down. I feel like that was a really dumb location to put them in. So we're gonna try again. So let's talk about the soil. This has a lot of sand in it. It has some perlite, vermiculite, and peat moss. Peat moss is more acidic, which is great because raspberries like more acidic soil. The sand is to help it with drainage so that it doesn't hold on to too much moisture because their roots can rot easily. The perlite and vermiculite help with soil structure. So into this pot, I'm gonna add a little bit more compost because raspberries are heavy feeders. We're gonna do a few handfuls. And I'm gonna work this into the top few inches of the soil because the rest of my soil already has compost mixed in. I just wanna make sure that it's ultra rich, because I'm pretty sure these guys are gonna be hungry when they wake up. I mean, they're already waking up, but you know what I mean. Whenever you're working with a bare root, you always wanna rehydrate it before you pot it up or plant it wherever you choose to. Let's empty these out so we can take a good look at them. And that's what we're left with. Okay, so let me get my pail of water. We don't have a lot of roots to begin with, so I don't need that much water, but I'm gonna place that in there. And in the meantime, let's unwrap this guy. Oh, no, more mess. Okay, this one seems to have some more roots than the last one. And this one is the heritage. I'm gonna swish them around. Oh, look, you can see the roots a bit better. This one, oh, you know what? Not too bad. Those aren't the prettiest roots I've ever seen, but they're not bad either. I'm gonna let these soak in here for about 30 minutes to an hour and then I'll come back. Now that my raspberries have been soaking for about an hour, I'm gonna go ahead and pot them up. Normally, if these roots were a bit more extensive, I dig a hole a bit wider and then place them in there, but these roots are tiny. So I'm just gonna dig 2 holes, probably one right here and one right here. And because these guys barely have roots, I'm gonna add a little bit of mycorrhizae to help with that root development. I'm gonna place them in there and then I'm gonna backfill. That's the Heritage variety. And then I'm going to do the Amity variety. So again, spread some mycorrhizae. Place my root and then backfill. Then I'm going to add mulch to fill up the rest of the pot. About right there is fine. I don't want the mulch to be too heavy or too thick so that new shoots can pop up, but I also don't want it to be too thin because I want to help insulate their roots a bit more since they are very heat sensitive. So keep that in mind. And then the last thing to do is going to be to water them in. First, I'm going to reuse this water. And I'm going to keep watering until the water drains out the bottom. And that's basically it. Wish me luck. If I don't get it right this time, I'll try again next year.